You smell that? You smell that? That fresh cut grass coming out of Dove Valley? We're finally here, boys. Training camp has started. The Broncos season is inching closer and closer. And the Denver Broncos and the Boys of Fall are back. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Mainly Broncos podcast. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button for the MHRT Network page, as well as the Mainly Broncos YouTube page. So two different YouTube channels, so make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you guys prefer watching this through X, Twitter, we are streaming on all four of the platforms. So at MHRT Network, at Jordan T. Lopez, at Jordan's handle, at Brandon Miller's PO's Twitter handle, and of course at myself at Cameron Parker PO. So make sure you guys share and tell your friends and have your friends tell their friends about the Mainly Broncos podcast. We were gone for about a couple weeks, but but we are back. So thank you guys so much for sticking with us and sticking with the MHRT network. So boys, how we doing? We'll start with you, Brandon. You good?
I'm good, man. I'm ready for some games to actually start happening here, and ready to get some news and see some more one-handed catches from Jordan's boy that came to us via
Pat Bryant.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some Pat Bryant one-handed catches as well, which Jordan just avert your eyes. But no, that Waddle catch was crazy. So I'm already hyped for getting into training camp. Just after 2 days and seeing that, it's like we got one.
Yeah.
Yeah, football season couldn't come at a better time. I mean, watching these clips now, getting back into the football season, and just having Jalen Waddle on the team is so good.
So kind of take us through all the emotions. I mean, we finally made it. Through. We got all the little bit of the doldrums of that off season, but we're finally here. We are finally here, getting the chance to talk some football. Maybe get a little bit too amped up now with training camp around the corner, trying to believe every little detail of training camp.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we wait for, to be honest. I mean, now with every single clip, every single note that comes out from the media and these pressers, I mean, we're going to overreact. We're going to do what everybody does across the league, but this is one of the best parts. The only unfortunate thing, though, is the injuries, which I'm hoping the Broncos do not get that injury bug, which other teams are already getting day one, which sucks. But for the most part, the Broncos have been healthy for the past couple of years in training camp, and knock on wood, that stays the same.
Yeah, Brandon.
I'm excited to see specifically like what this offense is going to look like with a new play caller. Which obviously we're not going to get too much into the details of that yet until we start to get into actual games. But specifically, I'm really wanting to see a tight end emerge in some way, shape, or form and actually be a legitimate weapon. Like, that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Don't care who it is. Probably not going to be Caleb Lohner because he wasn't out there yet again. Shocker. But that's like my number one. Excuse me, starting to choke on air there. That's like my number one watch that I'm paying attention to is, what becomes of that lingering tight end question that to me is the biggest remaining hole as far as weapons on this offense outside of just, not entirely knowing what the running game is going to look like with some new bodies there. But yeah, tight end.
Yeah. We'll get to the past concussions. I'm sure Jordan will have some things to say, of course, about Mr. Pat Bryant. So yeah, we'll talk about that. Also, Chase, what's up? Hopefully, Ahmad Hudson becomes a Nebraska Cornhusker during this stream, so that you'll see my live reaction about it. And Sleeper Ghost mentions, yeah, I probably will overreact to all the training camp, all the training camp hype.
All I know is right now we are going to be undefeated and win the Super Bowl. So
Correct.
So, all right. So for anybody that may have been tuning into this show like a couple weeks back or a handful of weeks back, we did do a training camp preview or kind of did a little bit of a look as far as some of the training camp battles and stuff like that. This particular show will be kind of a bit of a regurgitated, uh, topic, if you will. And a lot of that is just because the training camp is fresh. It is brand new. It just began yesterday, but we know that starting tomorrow, it'll be the very first day for fans and for fan reaction. I think the hardest thing for all of us and us being fans that's going to be really hard is going to, be video. I mean, it's a stealth operation. When it comes to trying to take some video and stuff like that, down there with training camp. So it's gonna be really fascinating to see what kind of video transpires with training camp with some of these fans because it's gonna be a little bit tricky. But obviously, we will get some clips here and there. But obviously, we know that sometimes the fan view has been the best view at times. So.
well, I'm sure we'll get there eventually, but I know it's probably not going to be happening yet, which is a little bit of a bummer. But
Yeah.
I want to see some more footage of specifically the new training facility. I feel like they just keep hyping it up and they keep like putting on all these. Did you guys see that post that they made about like,
Have you seen?
Where they sourced the wood from and like all this stuff? I'm like, just show me the inside of it. Like, I don't care about that.
Did you see what they posted about like an hour ago?
No, I didn't see it. It was the most recent thing. I didn't see that.
They did like a 3.5 minute video of a tour of inside the building.
Okay, I take it back. They did exactly what I wanted. I'm gonna go check that out.
I mean, it is incredible. I mean, it further solidifies that we have the best ownership group in the NFL.
Yeah. Okay, this is sick. Sorry, go ahead.
I will say this: if that is any sort of expectation for what to expect, when it comes to the stadium,
Yeah.
the Broncos are kind of going to be outdoing themselves when it comes to, the overall practice facility and stuff like that. So it is going to be wild, and I'm sure too. Like
this is crazy. Sorry,
no, you're good. One of the things I'm sure that we'll also get is like photos. I know they released photos, but I'm sure they'll do a little bit more of like an in-depth like photo, tour as well. But yeah, it is absolutely crazy to me. Yeah, imagine a stadium with that.
Dude, I would pay an just unimaginable amount of money to be able to work out here and just have like this be my gym. That would be probably the coolest thing that I've ever experienced. It's not happening because they will not probably let me through the doors. But this is so cool. We're gonna have the coolest stadium in the NFL. I'm not even joking.
It'll be even better than SoFi. I mean,
yeah. I mean, if it's anything close to what the facility is, I mean,
yeah,
we can expect for it to be the best.
I mean, because we're all expecting it's going to end up being a retractable roof, right? Like, like it'll be a retractable roof. I know some people thought it's going to actually be like an overall dome, and it's not going to be a dome. It's going to be a retractable roof, and the question is just going to be like, what are they going to do on top of that? There's like 100 acres that they're going to be dealing with, so like I'm sure there's going to be a fan experience and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting, to see what all that entails because like there's different things that they can lean off of and take from. I know locally, like they have like the McGregor Square. And stuff like where that's the fan experience and fan environment that they can also like watch shows, watch the FIFA World Cup, like stuff like that, and also like watch like games that people aren't allowed to like get tickets and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's gonna be that kind of fan experience, and I'm sure there's gonna be one part of it too. I think is gonna be like there's the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame that is a part of that stadium, right, or a part of it or attached to it. So I think there's gonna probably be something that's going to be an extension of that, and I'm sure there's going to be some sort of involvement with some of the parts of the stadium as well to really kind of bring out the flavor and stuff like that. It's going to be fun.
Dude, can I live here? This is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is going to be nuts. All right, so as we said, there's going to be a little bit of some regurgitated topics and everything as far as like talking about the training camp battles, and this really isn't necessarily new or some of the stuff that's been talked about in other Broncos podcasts. But as far as from our point of view and everything, you'll hear our point of view and hear our standpoint and everything too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's start first with the obvious, because I think the biggest thing when it comes to training camp is injuries, right? Like that's probably something we didn't necessarily talk about at our training camp, like stuff like a couple weeks ago or about a month ago, and a lot of that is just because it's self-explanatory. If training camp people can come away, scot clean and no injury health and everything, I think that is the ideal situation when it gets to be training camp. With preseason, obviously, as well. There's no significant injuries. That's the biggest victory in and of itself right now with training camp.
Oh, for sure. One last thing to say about this training facility, even the barbershop looks like ridiculously insane. Like that's the nicest barbershop. I can't stop talking about it. I'm going to stop right now because I've taken up too much. But this is incredible, and that's all I have to say.
Yeah, no, it could be its own state. The stadium could be its own state.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's actually kind of true. I mean, the Penners really might make that thing its own city.
Yeah. So for anybody that is like outside of it, it's gonna be there's a light rail station that's called 10th and Osage, and like right off of that is the Buckhorn Exchange. That's gonna be like the main area of where it's located. And then obviously there are 100 acres and stuff that's going to be on top of that. So we touched on it with injuries, but what is the number one training camp battle or thing that you are looking out and wanting to see when it comes to this Broncos training camp this year?
Jordan could go first.
I want to see who emerges as that wide receiver 3 and 4. We all know the top two guys are going to be Waddle and Sutton, but I want to see who the third guy is. I want to see if it's really going to be Troy Franklin. Is Marvin Mims finally going to get his turn and being a wide receiver and getting little snaps? We've seen him make those plays in big games. Is he actually going to get those wide receiver 3 reps that he deserves? Is it going to be Pat Bryant, who's everyone's high on, and coming back from his concussion and now fully healthy? Just a lot of options, and I wonder who's going to take over that wide receiver 3 spot.
It's going to be Pat Bryant. I'm sorry, Jordan. I'm not even kidding. Pat Bryant, I think, is going to just explode this year. I'm so excited to see him. But I'm excited to see, what happens there as well. For me, I think it's going to be who's going to take, and maybe not, this isn't like a 1-to-1, but who's going to step up for the loss of John Franklin Myers? Like, what does that look like? Is it going to be Wazirike? Is it going to be Tyler Onyedem, the rookie we drafted this year? I'm honestly surprised Wazirike is still on the team after everything that happened, but whatever. Is it going to be Jones? I don't know, but I think that's going to be something that'll be worth monitoring, but also just something that's going to be really important for this defense and how the defense performs this year, because I think I actually have more concerns about the defense than the offense going into this season. And losing John Franklin Myers is a big part of that, because he was just an absolute steal when we got him in that trade from the Jets for a 6th round pick swap. And I wish we had a way to keep him, but whoever tries to fill that role is going to have big shoes to fill. And I'm curious to see how that works out and who that ends up being, because it's going to be big.
I think for me, I think there's going to be some definite position battles. I think for me, one of the things that right off the top of my head that I think that is going to be probably a big thing of emphasis. We're talking about the defense, and just my mind kind of went there. But obviously we know like I said, there's going to be training camp battles with this. But one of the biggest things that I want to be following whether it's certain drills or things that they want to really put that big emphasis on, is they have got to create turnovers this year. And so, if one of the things that I like to see is, can this defense really kind of take that next step of forcing turnovers and creating those extra opportunities for, for the defense? Because I will say, obviously, it was a very putrid and very poor, AFC Championship game. But the one thing that I will say, and obviously they faced Trey Lance and stuff like that, but one of the things uh, that really happened from that moment, if you will, which was Week 18, was you started to see a bit of a trend of turning the ball over and causing turnovers in that game, right? And it really carried over, even though they had a bye week. It really carried over into that Buffalo Bills game, where Josh Allen was the reason they were in the game, but also Josh Allen was the reason they were losing that game or lost that game because of turnovers that were happening by the defense, and the defense that was forcing turnovers. So if they can really bottle what happened at the tail end of that last season, I think this defense can really kind of hit its stride and maybe hit that extra gear. Because, there were so many times, right? Like we talked about it on this show, there were so many times, where there were clear interceptions or turnovers to be made, and it just didn't happen. There were moments where obviously Hafanga probably should have had 6 interceptions, and that's putting it lightly. And
Dude,
then
that was
obviously,
crazy.
and then there's times where Pat Surtain and Hafanga are colliding. Right? Sorry, it was Pat Surtain and Brandon Jones colliding, and they should have had an interception. You know, so it's just it's that's like I said. There's gonna be some training camp battles we'll discuss here too, but I'm very interested in how they're gonna be creating some of these turnovers here in this training camp and obviously in the regular season.
Yeah, I think that's going to be big as well. Hopefully, we don't kind of go through that withdrawal, if you will, of that Hufanga. What happened with Hufanga and those picks. That was insane, and I feel genuinely bad for him as a player because that's got to be insanely frustrating. But yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of the defense this year. And then specifically, I think someone in the comments talked about this, but literally what happened to Shadi Perrin. I need to know this.
Yeah.
I need to know where he's playing. Is he playing? Is he starting?
Well, he'll be playing. The question is,
I mean, he's going to be playing, but is he starting? That's why I changed the word in there, just because I think it's a little weird that going into this upcoming season, you still don't really know what you're doing with someone that you invested a fairly high draft capital in, and I don't know. It's just a little funky, and I would like to see that pay off, even if it's I'm not expecting him to be PS2, right? That's crazy, but if he can be solid and contribute well, and maybe even be a future replacement for one of our other defensive backs that might or might not stay around. I'm not even going to name names because who knows honestly who it would be at this point because there's a couple options there. But if he can live up at least a little bit to where we drafted him and be a functional starter, I'll be happy. But I just want to see that happen first, and I haven't seen much of anything yet. So that'll be another big thing to watch for me personally, just in training camp and then also throughout preseason and into the beginning of the regular season. Is what does that look like, and where is he playing?
Jordan.
Yeah, I just wonder where how that's all going to play out, especially with Jade Barron. I mean, at least we don't have the turnover wounds that the Jets have when they didn't catch a single interception. At least we have caught interceptions, but I just wonder how that whole situation is going to play out because of, at least in my opinion and what I'm looking for, if Jade Barron doesn't have a specific role coming into the season, I don't know, it's just going to be weird within that secondary room because you drafted this guy with the first round pick last year, and he's supposed to be somebody special. Yeah, he hasn't seen the field quite consistently. There's gonna be some real questions that need to be answered, and hopefully it's this training camp.
Yeah, and one of the things we've talked about is the idea of him being a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, if you will, but being a little bit more of a prevalent Swiss Army knife. You
Yeah.
know, and I think that it's going to be very interesting. You're not going to get the full, like the full idea of like what in terms of like you're gonna see with Baron, like the clear cut role, because I think that the idea is probably him still to be that Swiss Army. It's just the lengths of the where it's gonna go to, right? Because like you're still gonna have Riley Moss there, at least at this point. You're gonna have J Mac there, so if you can just you know really at this point buy into this idea of him playing a little bit more of the Joker role. There's that term, on the defensive side of the ball. I think that that's I think that's probably your at least right now the ideal bet, unless Riley Moss really plays his butt off when it comes to this particular year, and a team really kind of forks over some nice little trade capital. Maybe you have something where Barron can be that player that's going to be playing on the outside, or something that I think is a really nice envision for him, maybe for a future, is we don't know what the plans are necessarily. We haven't really heard anything in terms of an extension with Brandon Jones. They should extend him, but we know that Jade Barron is a very instinctual player, very smart player. So safety, I think, is another one of those positions where he can just really slide right in and be a really good safety if by chance they decided to move off of Brandon Jones. So it's just, but what I'm talking about there is like forecasting of the future, not really, like the here and now. So if you can really kind of find something that's a nice niche and a nice role for Barron in this particular like training camp, I think that's going to be truly, truly ideal for him. Go ahead, Jordan or Brandon.
You can go, Brent.
I was just gonna say I literally agree with everything you said. That's why it's going to be such a big, I think, focus for me personally is what does this look like for because who knows with Riley Moss? Like, I don't know if Riley Moss is going to continue to be on this team after this year. That's the biggest question mark for me. And I think right now I'm leaning towards no, unless he does something to like drastically turn around. And I'm not even saying it was entirely his fault, because there was a lot of those penalties he had last year where it was kind of ticky tacky and they were just piling on. And it was just like, well, this is the guy that you need to watch because he's going to do something shady and get a some early hands in. There were definitely some calls that were questionable at best, but I don't know if he's going to continue to be on this team. So we need to have some kind of replacement.
One of the comments that is in here is not Broncos related news, but it's something that's probably at least worth talking about. You talked about John Franklin Myers, earlier, Brandon, but Megadong mentions trade for
yes.
I
Man,
would. I
totally
definitely.
do it.
Yeah, I definitely would.
Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. Do I think that has any likelihood of happening? Man, I don't know. I don't know if that would be possible. I don't know what the asking price would be on him. I think I saw somewhere someone said like a second and a fourth or something. I might be completely wrong, but I would strongly consider doing that if I was the GM of this team. I think that just shores up one of the last remaining holes that I would say you have on defense. I think I would again do that in a second. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that would be crazy.
Some are speculating a first round pick. I mean,
that's what I would think, but there's some things because he's like,
you're gonna have to pay him though. So I don't think that's why the price is going to be high.
He's 31, so he's not. If he was 27, different story.
He's certainly not going to get the Jalen Carter money.
No.
But if you can get somewhere upwards between the 25s to the maybe even the 30 for a 31-year-old, I think that's probably going to be your ideal price range.
I think you can get him for like a conditional third. If I'm being honest, I can turn into a second. Yeah, because the big part about that trade is that you're gonna have to extend him, and he's gonna ask for big money.
Of his deal,
so
for sure.
Yeah. There's been some speculation about the Raiders. Obviously, I don't see that. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
really
I don't see that either.
It doesn't really feel necessarily like in the Raiders' wheelhouse, if you will. If the Raiders were starting Fernando Mendoza and they were battling for the AFC West division like right now, and they're Super Bowl contenders, okay, I could see it. Like, but they're like rebuilding. Like they're rebuilding that football team, and yeah, you certainly want to ensure that Max Crosby stays, but it just does not fit the timeline for the Raiders as well.
Yeah, I don't see it happening for the Raiders. That just seems ridiculous to me. But I mean, I guess it's possible. But I do think that he would fit in pretty well in Denver, and I would be super stoked for that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but you can hope.
This seems
Ty,
like a 49ers seems like a 49ers trade to me.
Rams.
Which, by the way, the
Dude, the
49ers
Rams,
just
man.
re-signed Debo.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
just as we were doing the show, Ty asks about Jonathan Cooper, his situation. We're still gonna probably let that whole. I don't want to speak for Jordan and Brandon, but we'll probably let the whole process, kind of play itself out. I'm personally expecting him to be suspended. I don't know how long he'll be suspended. It'll probably be somewhere upwards between the 4, the 6, the 8, kind of threshold. I don't know if he'll get 8, but if he is suspended, I think the good news is, and this is something that we've talked about on the show before, is Jonathan Cooper is a great player, but I think that with this edge room and everything that's kind of leading up to this, that room was very talented also in its own right. And so
Yeah.
if Cooper is going to be missing some time, they have the right pieces in place that can really kind of, supplement his loss a little bit.
I think he's been practicing in full, correct?
He actually, it was a surprise. He showed up to
Yeah,
the practice. I want to say was the first day of training camp.
yeah.
Like it's not open to fans, but like the first day of training camp.
I'm curious to see how that situation plays out and what's going on there. Obviously, like the off the field stuff is concerning. That's all I'm going to say about it. So I'm curious to see what the team thinks about that and just how that works out. It'll be definitely something to watch.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna let it play out. What I thought was interesting though is that Sean Payne publicly came out and said that not only him but the team, the ownership group, like they're all behind Cooper. So I think that's a good sign. Whether they're feeling good about the case or whether he's done the right work to get himself mentally ready and right. I thought that was a big statement because usually you don't just come out and say that just to say it, especially with these guys. So we'll see how it plays out. But again, I think that was pretty big in terms of saying that publicly.
And again, we don't know what his future is going to hold as far as suspension on the team necessarily. As we said, he's a good player. It would be great to have him, but you also want to make sure you see to let the process play. But one of the things that it seems like Cooper is doing, and it seems he's doing the right thing right now. Like he's doing the appropriate things to put him in the place that he's letting the process play out, and he's also doing things on top of this. Like he said that he was going through therapy, right? Like he was going through therapy, and he stayed 10 extra days, right? He stayed 10 extra days within that therapy,
Yeah.
so he is kind of putting in that work and really working on himself and doing what he needs to.
Yeah.
Um,
Thoughts on our running back room? That's a great question. Phew, you guys got anything on this one? I have my own thoughts, but I will
I think it's something
try to
we
collect
talked.
them first because I
Well,
don't want to be a
uh,
troll.
why? Well, I was gonna say I think we've talked about it, right? Like I think it's a very good room, right? Like I think it's a very good room. Um, but it's one where, frankly, it's a conversation we'll have. I think with a lot of these, and this is health, right? And I think it's the ceiling. I think can be relatively high, right? but it's just one with the health of the room. Where can it take you? And if you can finally get a nice blend of where things are with J.K. Dobbins in the room, I think there's a nice little identity for you with that running back room where you can probably take it.
Yeah. My only concern is I love J.K. Dobbins, but expecting him to be healthy for the full season is probably just not going to happen. And then how do you continue to utilize RJ Harvey? Because he had a great rookie year. He performed very well in the touchdown department, but I don't know if he's just not what you get from him is not what you get from J.K. Dobbins, and there's a reason that the running game struggled going into the second half of the year and into the postseason after we lost Dobbins. And I think that I'm hoping Jonah Coleman gets more of a expanded role, and it's not just like a three-headed, monster or backfield. And obviously it's going to be, but that in the sense of like you're just seeing guys rotating in and out like every couple snaps. Like I really think you need to commit to the run game and take some pressure off of Bo, because that was one of the biggest things to me that was a weakness in the offense last year was we just couldn't run the ball. Like J.K. Dobbins did a good job when he was healthy, and then when we lost him, we still couldn't run the ball. It was just even worse. But Dobbins had some good runs. So I think you're going to need to figure out how do you want to utilize RJ Harvey and how you're going to get Jonah Coleman in. I mean, there's a reason that we took Jonah Coleman after taking RJ Harvey in the second round last year, which was definitely higher than I think a lot of people thought he would go. But it's just kind of interesting because he's good on the goal line and he's good in the passing game, but he's still needs to improve on specifically he's between the tackles work. And I think that'll be another big thing to look at actually this training camp and going into preseason first few weeks. It's like, has he gotten better there? And if he has, and we don't have to feel like we need to rely on J.K. Dobbins and Jonah Coleman, shows up well, like I'm going to feel a lot better about the running back room. But I think it's just a question mark with a little bit of a injury concern.
I mean, in terms of the trio, I do think it's one of the deeper running back rooms in the NFL. I honestly believe that. I have high expectations for Jonah Coleman. Even as a rookie, I do think that he's going to have an impact on winning this year. The RJ Harvey discourse on social media is a bit weird. Obviously, his production last year, like how Brendan said, like his touchdowns were great in his rookie year, but there's still people that are a bit like skeptical about his game, and some are rightfully criticized, and others are just, in my opinion, at least a little bit overblown. Um, I do think J.K. Dobbins is going to be a bit healthier this season because due to the depth at running back, I do think he's not going to carry such a heavy load for in that running back room. And they are going to alternate. They are going to alternate back and forth between him, Harvey, and Coleman, and we might even see guys like Jaleel and stuff like that. But I do expect Dobbins to play the full season much healthier pace, but I still have high hopes for Harvey, and I know everyone's high on Coleman. I'm high on Coleman too, but Coleman looks like he looks apart. He really does. So I hope he has a great rookie season.
No, that's a great point about spelling J.K. Dobbins a little bit more, and him maybe having a little bit less wear and tear, and potentially is able to be healthy for longer. That's a good point.
Well, and I think that's kind of like the idea, like with this running back room, is like if you can really kind of like feed this idea of a running back by committee, I think that the biggest winner of that entire thing is J.K. Dobbins, because you are saving his health long term. Obviously, we know injuries and most injuries are very fluke injuries. We also know that there are trends, and if you are injury prone, if you will, or a player that gets injured a fair amount, sometimes that's just a label you are always labeled as. And at least for his career, like that is just something that Dobbins has had to deal with, and I think that for that running game, if they really can really feed into this idea of a running back by committee, I really do think that they will really benefit from it. And I think that the other idea of like one of the reasons why I'm expecting a little bit more balance on that idea is, well, if Jonah Coleman is going to be assuming the Tyler Bidet role, the Tyler Bidet role is a relatively low bar that is going to be passed by Jonah Coleman. When you think of 141 yards rushing for Tyler Bidet, in 2025, and on top of that, him being, and him being the 2 minute, back, if you will, like the pass protecting back and everything. So I think that's going to be like one of the biggest things that I'm going to be looking forward to. As far as like the extensions of this, I think the running game, I think you'll see a little bit more feature in the passing game. So I think that you'll see obviously RJ Harvey in that capacity because he's probably one of the better receiving backs on the team. But I think you will see obviously J.K. Dobbins in the passing game, and I think it's an area where I think Jonah Coleman, can really lean into that because I think that's a trait that not a lot of people would talk all that much of when it comes to his training. Did you have a fan on?
Yeah, I had a fan. I didn't think it was that bad, but man, my office gets hot.
Well,
Sorry.
Cause
it's like 90. It's still 90 degrees.
Well, because it was either that or the fact that Jordan's a Miami Hurricane fan.
That too. We got a big commitment tomorrow.
If I start sweating, I might have to turn it back on. My bad.
No, it's all good.
I totally lost the plot there for a second. What were you saying?
Well,
I got distracted.
We were talking about the running game still.
Oh, the running game still, yeah.
Yeah.
I do think, again, like you said, the Bidet bar is not a high one to clear, but I'm hyped for Jonah Coleman. I think he's going to be a great back for us. I just think I would love to see. I think it's a fine line personally because like having three good running backs is like not a bad thing by any means, but I do think if you are, rotating guys in and out too frequently, like you don't really get into a good rhythm, right? Which obviously the coaching staff knows so much more, has forgotten more than I'll ever know. But that's just my concern with having three backs, especially if it's like they kind of have overlapping skill sets, which is a good thing, but it's like, how are you going to use them? And then are you just going to do that thing where you kind of, every other play you're bringing guys in and swapping it out? Because I feel like that was a criticism actually of Sean Payton a couple of years ago and what he was doing with the offense. So I'm curious to see how that looks. Well, but obviously it's going to be different play caller. So
and I will say that's the thing I was going to lean into now, because like obviously one of the other big storylines that's not a training camp battle, but like one of the biggest news stories that is also probably one of the big NFL news stories is Sean Payton's not going to be having the play calling, at least on the initial part of this season. He can take it back whenever he wants to, but Davis Webb will be calling plays, right? Like Davis Webb will be calling plays, and there is a possibility. Now, is it a great possibility due to the fact of really wanting to lean into the possibility of this running game? Not necessarily, but knowing the fact that Bo has led the league, knowing the fact that Bo has led the league in pass attempts, and Davis Webb comes from a tree of Mike Leach and Texas Tech and a pass-happy offense, and Sean Payton is coming from a tree with Drew Brees, and this is the fourth year of Bo Nix. There's at least something where we could see a little bit of more of an aerial attack again with Bo and all these weapons in the wide receiver game. So, yes, it is not great if you're going to be feeding a little bit more into the pass happiness and extensions of the running game, which are screens. But like it does make you wonder of like what is going to end up being this true identity of the football team.
I really hope the Bo does not lead the league in passing attempts again. I don't think that's my cat hoping to come into the office. I don't let him in here.
He wants to be on the pod.
Cables. He literally will chew the cable to my mic and you won't hear me. Like he'll just disconnect it.
That explains why you cut
sorry about that one. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I had to put like a little cable protector thing on all the cables coming from my computer. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. But go ahead if you were gonna say something, Jordan.
No, I mean Davis Webb. Listen, I'm ecstatic that he's calling the plays, but I mean he couldn't have a worse start to the season, opening up in Kansas City, and then following it up with the toughest 6 game stretch that I don't know we've seen in a while. I mean that our 6 game stretch at the beginning of the season is
It's rough.
absolutely brutal. So I actually think it's actually number one or number two in the league for the first 6 games.
Yeah.
So yeah, first time play caller and you get thrown to the wolves like that. I mean, I think he's built for it. Obviously, he's gonna have Sean Payne helping him out. He's not like Sean's gonna just leave him out to dry. I'm pretty sure Sean's gonna be there every day, helping him out, giving him his 2 cents and what he would do and stuff like that, and just kind of guiding him in the right direction. But I have all the faith in the world in Davis Webb, and I actually found it quite interesting that they were talking about how if if the Broncos are struggling, week 2, week 3, is Sean going to quickly pull the trigger and get that play calling duties back, or is he going to let Davis Webb kind of go through the grind and kind of learn on the move? But I think it's going to be a great partnership between the play calling of Davis Webb and Bo. I think they're going to be on the same page. And the one that I'm really, really excited for, and I actually wouldn't say excited, I'm actually going to say the one that I'm very interested in seeing if it helps him out more, if it's going to be Evan Ingram. That's Davis Webb's guy. And if we ever need a tight end to step up, it needs to be this year.
I'll believe it when I see it.
No, me too. Me too. I'm in that same boat.
So that's another one where it's not necessarily so that this is the best way I think you can really describe the Broncos, because it's one of the best rosters in the NFL, right? But it's just when your question marks are, can a player take a next step, or your training camp battles for the most part are your swing tackles, or the depth, right? Like the depth of players. That's the mark of a really good team. Or like a third corner, a third wide receiver. That's the mark of a really good team. But where it gets interesting is if a player can really take that, next step and really be involved a little bit more. And I think Evan Ingram he fits the bill. And he has a career where he's shown that, but he's also had a career where it's been a bit inconsistent, right? Um, but it's also one where it's like, with what you've seen in some certain plays, there were certain plays where he and Bo were not necessarily on the same page. I think it's fair, for as much as there is praise for Bo, and Bo Nix will always be Pookie, and we will always love Bo Nix, and and God bless Bo Nix all the time.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
But like I think that there were times on throws and passes to Evan Ingram where just a bit slightly it looked like his passes were a bit errant to Evan Ingram, and Evan Ingram didn't necessarily catch the ball in stride like he probably should have. And I think that that's probably another area where you can probably take the top off, if you will. And if that happens, then and obviously it isn't just Evan Ingram, but like if you're getting production out of like a Dylan Bentley or a Justin Jolie, you're gonna see the tight end room really kind of hit its stride and be a little bit more productive.
I mean, I certainly would just be ecstatic if that happened.
Well, I will say Evan Ingram does have competition waiting for him, because I am a big believer in the 2 rookies that we got, especially the one from NC State. So he better produce.
Yeah. Obviously, Kodiak is a 2K reference there. um, but no, I just think that it's. Well, let me just ask it this way, because one of the other players and one of the other people that has been tossed around is Taysom Hill.
Dude, he's on his
I
way to
don't.
Denver right now. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well,
at all.
why? What is the argument against not having him?
Are you asking me? Considering I just tweeted yesterday, the answer is
No, because I've seen a lot of people, quite frankly, on social media say that we don't want Taysom Hill, and I don't know. Maybe I'm not getting something, but
Let,
I would take him.
since I am outnumbered, and Brandon, and Brandon's okay with it. Obviously, you're okay with it.
I'm okay with it. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it. Mostly.
Feed me the ideas of why Taysom Hill would make sense.
He knows the system, and he's actually shown that he can be a legitimate weapon, which is more than pretty much, anyone else in the tight end room has done. It's that simple for me.
Jordan.
I mean, I'm gonna piggyback off of Brandon there. I mean, he will provide depth in that tight end room. He knows the offense. He's very familiar with Sean Payton, as we all know. And I think he brings an element to the offensive unpredictability that we can probably use in big time games. I mean, we've seen him be that, I don't know if you want to call it that wildcat guy, because he is technically a quarterback, but a running back and I mean, he's everything. But I think having that on your team makes a difference, and it makes the opposing defense continue to question certain looks and formations and disguise, like all of it. Like I think it's a no-brainer, if I'm being quite honest, about the Taysom Hill to the Broncos. I don't think he's going to cost that much, and he provides much needed depth, and he's quite reliable.
I don't know. For me, it's like there's the thing you can't ignore, and that's his age. Like, he is 35 years old, and they did add 2 tight ends in this draft right now that I'm very positive they want to at least see a future, with Dallin Bentley and Justin Jolie. So, and who knows? Like, there's also the advantage of the one part I could probably be swayed with is the red zone, and that is the relatively big area the Broncos do need to work on, is red zone, right? And Taysom Hill would be one of the better options you could probably lean with, but
that's a good point.
But it's all. But I don't know. Like, it feels like if you really want to be in this vein of developing some of the players that are on your roster, like the 2 players that you just drafted, and Jolie and Bentley, I would want to feed into that. Now, where I am very interested in this idea is Taysom Hill being added to the staff. Like, in him being added to the staff and really adding this this knowledge of Sean Payton and being another soundboard, if you will, for specifically that tight end room. Right? Like, for specifically that tight end room. And if you can be that soundboard and be that type of person for that, I think there's no better person you would want to actually talk shop with than Taysom Hill and everything that Sean Payton has kind of taught him all those years.
I do love that idea. More so than him being a player, even though I do think he can give you something. He is going to be 36 years old next month. That causes its own
so the other idea
problems.
Is, hear me out, Ellinger's a bit of an athlete, right? Like, a relatively decent athlete. What if you turn Ellinger into your version of Taysom Hill?
I think there's a reason there's only one Taysom Hill, but they can try.
There's technically there is actually one other person who's also a Taysom Hill, but he's doing work right now. He's doing broadcast work. He's not in the league right now, and that would be Tim Tebow.
Sure.
Hey, I will.
I love Tim Tebow, but I don't know if I would say he's there.
mean, he's not in the league for a reason, but
Yeah.
but Tim Tebow is the Swiss.
No, that's fair. Tim Tebow was the OG Taysom Hill.
Yes.
I will say, I listening to Rap Sheet, I think it was today or yesterday, he did mention that he doesn't know if Taysom Hill's gonna retire or play another year. So I do think retirement is a real thing for Taysom Hill. I just want him to be a Bronco in some capacity. I like the coach idea. I really do. I feel like he's like a Sean Payton hard-nosed guy anyway as a coach too, and I would like him as a player too. I know, and I do understand the developmental side of it with Jolie and Bentley.
Yeah.
But if you are going to, or if you're really in a win now mode, and let's say Evan Ingram is having another year that he had last year, that means you're going to rely on a rookie to step up, which again has its pros and cons, but I think I would rather have someone like a veteran like a Taysom Hill, which I know I'm completely and they Atkins are Taysom Hill. I mean, I'm completely like not even mentioning Adam Troutman because we all know that's Sean's guy, but we all know that we need a real threat as a tight end.
Here's the question. Since we're on this tight end conversation. Do you actually believe the tight end room, or do you believe there will be a tight end? It doesn't have to be Evan Ingram. It doesn't have to be, but is there a tight end that you actually believe in? If you're going to be staking a claim right now of like this tight end will actually take a bit of a next step in 2026, and if you're a betting man, who would that tight end be?
Personally, I think the only option that kind of even exists is Justin Jolie.
I don't know about the only though.
Okay, I mean, okay, that's fair. To me, I think that's the most likely option.
I don't know.
I think he's.
Though.
You think because do you think it's Dallin Bentley? Is that why?
No. I'm saying I think Evan Ingram feels like low hanging fruit.
I don't know about that. There's a reason that I said originally had started out by saying the only option is Justin Jolie. I just don't know if Evan Ingram has it in him anymore.
I agree, but like, with the career and everything we've seen,
I mean, he can.
Yeah,
he can prove me wrong. That's what I'm going to say about that. He can prove me wrong. I do like Bentley, but I think it's probably going to be Jolie.
I know it's low hanging fruit, but I'm going to go with Evan Ingram just because of the play calling switch and his connection with Davis Webb. I know we have to see it to believe it. I'm one of those guys, but I do believe that chemistry between him and Webb and that's really going to pay a big dividends. Maybe this is just me, coping and hoping it happens, but I do believe it'll be a thing.
But I would even just say because of the fact they did draft two of those tight ends, one of those tight ends is going to work out. It feels almost like the tight end version of when we drafted Caden Stearns and Jamar Johnson, even though Caden Stearns didn't exactly work out long term, but like the initial stuff, unfortunately was derailed by injury, but Stearns was the one that worked out, right? And a lot of people, myself included, were in the Jamar Johnson, fan club. That was going to work out, but it feels like one of Bentley and one of Jolie is going to end up working out. So
I just think like when you get tight ends that come from kind of a basketball background, which Jolie has, that's usually where you get the guys that can kind of do the more freaky for their size athletic stuff that you see in the league now. I mean, obviously, like there's just so many more good tight ends and more athletic tight ends now than there ever were in years past, and it's just kind of becoming more of a common isn't the word I'm looking for. It's less rare to see that at the position now than it was before, right? But that does seem to be, if there is, and that's not a blueprint, but that is a somewhat common theme.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the same
It's just the
question.
body control.
I'm gonna ask the same question relative to Jordan's favorite position in all sports, which is not the quarterback position, but it's the wide receiver position. Um, you're staking claim on a wide receiver three that separates himself this year. Who is that wide receiver three?
Well, I think we know who Brandon's wide receiver 3 is. Pretty sure you have the same one, Cam. So let me go in a
I'm,
different
I'm,
way.
I'm just asking. Like,
I'll go the different way. I know he's had his fair share of criticism on social media. Who I would want it to be is either Marvin Mims or Troy Franklin. I believe Marvin Mims, due to the plays he has made in big games, and he has shown that he has been reliable in those moments, and that I don't think you can argue that because he has shown it now for 2 straight years with Bo. Why I think it's more Troy Franklin. He has more of the size than Mims. He's a little bit over 6 foot, 6'1". He has the speed. He has that dynamic ability. And I think learning from someone like Waddle, which we've already seen pictures and videos of them talking, and it looks like Troy Franklin's really picking his mind. Learning from a guy like that, I think, is really going to help him a lot. Again, Troy Franklin has all the traits. He has the ability to be that guy. And I think if Troy Franklin does become that wide receiver 3, that's a very, very dynamic top 3 that all complement one another pretty good.
here's what I'll say. I think the wide receiver three, it won't be Pat Bryant, and it won't be solely Troy Franklin. Wide receiver three will be the matchup, and I think that where you see it the most is going to end up being probably Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant, because it really did seem like the team was really leaning into the idea of Pat Bryant specifically as like the playoffs were there. Like, I mean, the thing I can't get out of my head is that Buffalo Bills game where yeah he went down with injury, but like that drive he was featured, like he was absolutely featured with 3 catches, 32 yards before he went down with that concussion. Like that was a pretty impressive, type of situation to really feature him in that kind of situation. And then obviously he goes down with the injury. But I think that where it gets dynamic, like with just the high ceiling for what could be with the pure speed element with Jalen Waddle, I think that's where I think it's going to be fascinating. Uh, as far as where things could go for that offense, because people always talk enough about like the NASCAR package when it comes to pass rush. I think that there's a NASCAR type of package when it comes to wide receivers, and that's where you're really looking at it from the standpoint of, Corton Waddle will always feels like maintain themselves on the field, but there will be something where Jalen Waddle and Troy Franklin will be on the field at the exact same time, and it's going to be difficult for some of those DBs to kind of keep up with them, specifically for Franklin and Waddle's speed.
Yep.
I agree. I do agree with that. I just think Pat Bryant is going to build on what he showed us last year as a rookie, which is a player that I fully did not honestly like that we drafted him where we did, because he seemed like a bit of a reach. Jacksonville wanted him, but he proved me wrong, I think. And he is, to me, kind of I hesitate to say heir apparent of Courtland Sutton, but they do very similar things. And I think he just is going to be one of those guys that's you put the Jalen Waddle speed effect in this offense, and you're going to have some openings where you can trust Pat Bryant to come down with it. Like if you're not going to try to take the deep shot, or you're going to use Jalen Waddle on like more of a clear out route, I think having Courtland Sutton and Pat Bryant on like the outside, if that's how you're running it, is two of the better options that you could have for Bo. And like, yeah, I do agree that Court is probably more of an X than Bryant is, but I do think Bryant is capable of playing on the outside, and I think he's going to take a leap. I think he's going to be that wide receiver 3. But I don't think it's going to be like, a massive difference. Like, I think they're still definitely going to be utilizing Franklin a lot. They're still going to be utilizing Mims. I think it's going to be more of like a 3A, 3B situation, but I just am excited to see what Pat Bryant does.
Or A to C, if you will.
Or A to C, yeah. Like, you're going to have a lot of guys. It's going to be, exciting to see the depth that we have there. So, because like now suddenly when you have Jalen Waddle and you have an actual one, everything that previously looked like, I don't know, like what is this wide receiver room? You got Cortland Sutton, and then like you got some guys and they're good, but they're young and they're unproven. And now it's like you got your 1, you got your 2, and then it's just everything else is depth. Like you throw that in there, and we have one of the deepest wide receiver rooms in the league overnight, seemingly. So I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Joshua W8 083 asks, where do you guys rank Bo Nix realistically? He said he's saying right now he's about the 13th best quarterback in the league right now over Jalen. Obviously, we said it before. We know that Bo Nix is number 1 in our hearts.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
But realistically, where would you guys put him? He did move up, by the way. He did move up in the NFL Top 100 to 59, ranked higher, than Lamar Jackson. We're going to really let that one sit for a bit. And then obviously, he was ranked 64th last year. And so it just, once you kind of saw it at that point, he was ranked at that point about the top 12th, if you will, and 13th, if you will, ranked quarterback in the National Football League. I think that's exactly where he's been placed this year. And also knowing the fact of where Joe Burrow was ranked as of right now, as well. So I just think that it's one where it seems like they really do value him high. But I will say this. This is something that we've said. Obviously, I personally don't put so much stock into, the NFL Top 100. But I think the one part I think that I will absolutely love with the NFL Top 100, specifically when it comes to Bo Nix, because the overall, just the overall talk about him is crazy. When you hear the players talk about him and how much they love Bo Nix, that's where it really rings true compared to some of these other annoying pundits that are out there talking about Bo and how he's a top 28 quarterback when it comes to National Football League.
I think top 14, 15 is totally fair. Anywhere kind of in that range. I think, to me, the thing that is, I don't want to say odd, but I'm a little surprised at how highly I've seen specifically Caleb Williams ranked, and I think that's kind of throwing it off a little bit. In like the rankings you see put out there, I think top 15 for me is how I would put him. Like, I'd probably put him at like 14. He's kind of right around like Baker Mayfield and probably Jalen Hurts. But I do think that when you look at it in the span of that class, for me, I think it's goes Drake May, then Bo, then Jay Daniels is hard because he was injured. Caleb Williams, I love him. I think he's good, but I'm so confused because he's had some insane plays.
Yeah.
He made throws that's like, holy crap! Like,
he's prime Russ right now.
He's like, I don't know who else makes that throw other than maybe Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's what you get sometimes with Caleb Williams, but then you'll also get absolute just boneheaded, atrocious decisions. Yeah. Some of the worst picks. Like, he'll throw like 86 yards in 3 quarters. Like, I'm just so confused. But he's like the perfect Jekyll and Hyde. And I know we're talking about Bo's ranking, but I think that where you see him ranked in a lot of people's rankings I think he gets pushed down because Caleb Williams is usually always ranked higher than him because a lot of people see Caleb as like a top 10 quarterback. And I guess I get it. Like, he has some just ridiculous talent and throws that he's put out there, but he also just puts out, I don't even know what to call it sometimes. I don't know. It's kind of interesting, but I think like I put him around 14.
Yeah, I think realistically he falls between that 12, 13, 14 range. I mean, I can have him as high as 10 and I can have him as low as 15. So I think he's around that range. I think too many people put too much hype into some other quarterbacks that I don't understand the hype, if I'm being quite honest. But I think there's obviously like the 5 to like 7 quarterbacks that you can say like, yeah, obviously as of right now, Bo's not better than them. But then there's some question marks where you can lean Bo, especially with what he has been dealt in terms of his weapons. The first 2 years, he had to lead the team in rushing for so many games. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into this. So
I will say this, and you know, and obviously, Josh, I know you're a Patriots fan, and Drake was undoubtedly worthy to be to be an MVP candidate, you know. But I will say it's interesting when you look at the class, you look at that quarterback class. It's an interesting argument because it's an interesting argument to say, is Bo Nix the best quarterback out of that class right now? And the argument could say that he is when you look at the fact that he's been the most consistent quarterback from 2024 to 2025, right? You know, like I think it's a very interesting one. Like, Jaden probably played a bit of a tier or close to or right on par with Bo, right, for Rookie of the Year. I think he was right on par together, he and Jaden, for that Rookie of the Year. But then obviously May has the MVP type of year, you know, and everything like that. So it's just like, it's a very interesting one where it's like, you look at it from a consistent standpoint, there's probably not been a quarterback that has been more consistent than Bo. And obviously there's Caleb, who had such a down year his rookie year, and then it takes off, you know, in 2025, and a lot of that was Ben Johnson helping him out too. But like, Bo might be the most consistent of that QB class.
I mean, a lot of people will start throwing tantrums right now if you said that on Twitter, but it is what it is. I mean, a lot of people love to, and this is the best part. Like, the contradiction's so funny. They'll say that Bo has, you know, this offensive line that's so great and stuff like that. Yet it's the same offensive line that Russell Wilson had, and he took all those sacks. And then it's the same offensive line where Jarrett Stidham played behind, and it looked like they couldn't block anything. And then now Bo has them, and Bo has done phenomenal with them. And then in the Bills playoff game, he's without wide receiver 2. He's without wide receiver 3. And he does what he does against the Buffalo Bills and the reigning MVP. So I don't know. The discourse around it is so funny. So
yeah, I do think Bo makes the offensive line look better than it is.
And they're
full stop.
And it's a great offensive line. Like,
I'd say it's good.
I'm in agreement with Brandon. I get worked up on this. I really do. But I think it's a good offensive line.
Yeah.
I would say it's better at pass blocking, and
that's for sure.
Much worse at run blocking. But I do think,
how much of the run blocking is the running back?
I think it's both, but I do think that the run blocking has been it could be better. It could be better, but it's both. There's definitely blame to go around there, because again, J.K. Dobbins, when he was healthy, was a top 10 running back in the league. Like, I think that's not an exaggeration to say.
where I do think,
But I do think that it could be better.
yeah, where I really do think, and maybe this is, it, it goes back to our questions. Can a player take that next threshold in his career, right? For as much as we talked about it last year, he did get a contract extension where the team really feels like he's taken a bit of a next step in his career, where I think it really could solidify itself as a great offensive line with even some fans and stuff like that, is the center position. If you are
Mhm.
seeing a little bit more of that continuity from that center position with Whataburger, Luke Whataburger, I think that that's when you will really kind of hit a stride with that offensive line. And then, where you aren't really kind of dealing with a little bit more of some tweaks here and there. And as great as that was, because it really finally, for the first time in the Broncos' offensive line history, really showed some good depth at the offensive line. You're not tweaking so much due to injury or something like that, where you can rely on a Ben Powers who, if fully healthy, is a really good offensive guard when he is fully healthy. And so if you can have someone with Ben Powers, and I know he took a pay cut, and there's a decent chance he's not even here next year, but like there's a chance where that left guard situation is going to be a little bit better too as well. So I think if they can really kind of hit some of that stride with the guard and the center position, I think that's when you'll see a little bit more consistent conversation amongst everybody that this is not just a good offensive line, this is a great offensive line.
I'm hoping.
The Great
We
Wall
did
of
a
Dallas is a good one. Sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah. I mean, PFF thinks that this is the best offensive line of all time. I would even argue Russell Wilson had a better offensive line because he just had a better center. I mean, Cushenberry is better than Luke Wattenberg, so I mean, I think we can all agree with that. But the thing I was talking about when we did our preview,
Cramp?
training camp,
I'm sure they're getting
training,
cramps,
yeah,
They
with how
better
hot
not.
it
They
is.
should be. They better drink a lot of
but
water.
they got a full nice training facility to get that fixed.
But with that preview that we did, I did mention that I want to see this offensive line be more dominant in the run game. Like I truly believe we have, we for sure have one, arguably two guys on the offensive line that will maul people in the run game. Like we all understand Miners will maul people in the run game. I think Bowles has that mentality, but like Luke Waltenberg is a question mark. Ben Powers is a question mark, and McGlinchey is getting up there in age. I mean, I would really just say McGlinchey's kind of like that term bridge starter for like quarterbacks. I think right now he's like in that territory for right tackle, just in my opinion.
He's really
Um,
good, but a bridge tackle for the future.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like we need guys along the offensive line to enforce their will in the run game, and I think we only have truly one guy, and maybe a second.
But I will say this is the best this depth has ever looked. This is the
Yeah.
best the offensive line depth has looked, and I and if I will say this, if there is anything that we have seen when it comes to Sean Payton and specifically the development of the offensive line, I think it's a fair assumption to think that the left guard position will be filled in house, whether it's Cage Casey, Alex Palczewski moves to left guard, or even Palczewski's your replacement for Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. I think it's a fair assessment to think that possibly the left guard situation specifically is going to end up being done in house.
You don't think
Yeah.
it'll be via trade or
No,
via
just
free agency?
the way that this team is operated in just pure continuity, it seems like that's the way that it wants to go. Brandon?
We'll see. I mean, I do think that the center position is by far the biggest weak link, in my opinion, and the guard is kind of a distant second. But I do think that until you see like this is going to be continue to be held back, the offensive line is as a whole buy the center position. Like that's just, to me, that's currently the fact of the matter on the line, and it could improve this year. And I'm hoping it does improve this year. And there's definitely room to grow for everyone in that room. But I do agree with you, and I think that it's if we can get again a better, specifically run blocking performance, I think you're going to take more heat off of Bo. You're going to be able to actually have a more dynamic offense, and I'm hoping that that happens because again, I don't want to see him have the most passing attempts in the league again because that's not a recipe for success, in my opinion.
Even though the Saints won a Super Bowl with it that way, I don't know if it's necessarily the best. I agree, it's the best recipe.
But that was also with a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Any other questions, concerns, or things that maybe not a lot of people have talked about that you guys are maybe looking forward with training camp, whether it's something that you're looking out for, something maybe that really hasn't been said that's kind of been on your mind, if you will, that's not been talked about?
I mean, I think for me, it was just I mean, everyone knows I'm a wide receiver guy. I want to know
You are?
the wide receiver 3 guy. The running back trio and how that's going to work out in terms of just the workload between the 3. And then I guess I'll say individually, just because I'm still a believer in him, what's going to happen with J.L. Skinner and how he's going to have an impact on the team or role. Still believe him as a
safety, if you will. Yeah.
I still believe in him as a safety. Hopefully he's the true backup this year, but we'll see how that goes. Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I haven't thought about J.L. Skinner in a while. I want to see specifically what happens with the linebackers and who comes out of this. Are we going to get multiple rookies that are going to stick in that room? We'll see.
Daredevil going to separate himself?
That'd be so much fun. But I'm curious to see if we get some fresh faces there, because I do think we need to get younger. Not like we have fresh faces there, but like that they all stick, because we had some pretty intriguing guys between Daredevil and Torian York. I know Torian York's a bit smaller, but I do think it's possible, that they both get spots on the roster.
Yeah, well, and obviously this is where you do end up with some of those like battles, if you will, and that's the line. Jordan Turner is going to be beginning or has begun training camp on the PUP, and he's been working out on the side, right? Which we know that is a window that now has been opened for guys like Karene Reed and Torian York and Red Murdoch, right? And so linebacker's probably another one in those relatively short lists of battles that I think a lot of people want to know the answer to. And I think if you're a betting man, Red Murdoch seems to be the guy that I probably would say at this point. But obviously this linebacking core that is led by elite linebackers and Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad seem to be holding down the fort, in just a little bit. So I don't know, Jordan, what would you say? Do you think that Red Murdoch will be supplanting one of those two legends at the linebacker position of Justin Strnad and Mr. Green Dot himself, Alex Singleton, who can't cover a wheel route?
I'm actually kind of surprised that we went the whole show without even mentioning the linebacker room, because it's probably the biggest question on the roster. I'm a big believer in Red Murdoch. I'm actually kind of
Daredevil.
Optimistic.
His name is Daredevil.
Okay. I'm a big believer in Daredevil, and I'm actually optimistic about York from Texas A&M. So I do believe that there are two capable guys of pushing for that spot. I more so believe in Daredevil, as Brandon will call him, more than York, just because of the pure. I mean, York is a little bit undersized in my opinion, but I do believe in Daredevil himself to win over the hearts of that linebacker room.
I think there's a chance he could have 300 snaps this year.
That's a lot of snaps.
I mean, when you factor in special teams and
Okay, yes,
and
yes.
and then factoring in probably at the last end of the season where he could probably make a little bit more of an impact on that team. I think there's a chance. I don't know if he'll take the starting role, but I think that Daredevil Murdoch. I think that he will be a little bit. Well, I think he is now, but like he will be even more of a fan favorite even during the regular season and everything. And I think that that's one that I think a lot of people will be latching onto. But um, I don't know. I really do see a future where Torian York and Murdoch are your starting linebackers post Sternad and post Alex Singleton. I think the thing with York, his intelligence is off the charts. If you actually get a chance to hear what I believe was Mike Elko talked about regarding him, do your guys selves a favor and take a Google search and type in Elko and Torian York and get a chance to see how he described him in film rooms and studies and stuff like that. Obviously, he went undrafted, but like it makes you wonder how did this guy not get drafted with the way that a guy like him specifically talks about him and how much he was in a film room and you know being only 20 years old and he's involved in the film room, that kind of stuff. It really kind of like makes the thing like, wow, they really feel like they did get that diamond in the rough, if you will, with York. So I think there's a very real chance the Broncos have not just one but multiple undrafted free agents that are on that at the very least practice squad.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
so I guess to round this out, there's another conversation that I know Bronco fans like to have this conversation with, and this has been a standard that has been set since really the Rod Smith era, obviously, but it really kind of became prevalent and more popular when it was the John Elway tenure, right? Of guys like C.J. Anderson and Chris Harris Jr. and those type of players, and even Brandon Marshall, right? Like Brandon Marshall, the linebacker, went undrafted, but then he was signed by the Broncos, from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tim Patrick is another one, one in the long line of undrafted players. So, not counting Torian York because we just talked about him. Um, who is the player you are circling, and it could be multiple, circling of that undrafted pool that will make an impression and make that 53-man roster, to be that blunt of a question?
I mean, that's a tough one. I don't know. Was this player undrafted? Let me double check something. George, if you have it, you can go first.
I mean, I was actually kind of doing the same thing, just looking. I mean, is a low hanging fruit York since he's undrafted?
Yeah, but I said no York.
Yeah, you can't choose York. Okay. Nope, this guy technically was not undrafted. I was specifically looking at, so if you guys follow at all with what Luca Evans, which by the way, rip. But congratulations on your new role that you're going to be going to with.
Yeah, he's still alive. He's still alive.
We will miss you. Rip in the sense that he's leaving Denver.
We're gonna have to we're gonna have to save the clip of Deadpool, which is fake laugh hiding real pain.
Yeah, fake laugh hiding real pain. He is still alive and well, but he is leaving Denver, unfortunately. So, Congratulations to you. But he specifically pointed out Sean Fresh from today's. I think it was today. Yeah, today's training camp as corner. He's a cornerback from actually the UFL league as the standout player who actually ended up coming up with a pick on. I think it was Ellinger.
Same team as Hakeem Butler.
Yeah. But technically, that doesn't count as an undrafted free agent. So, and I was like, it seems to be pretty obvious to pick a cornerback as who's going to make it, because that is the favored, the chosen position, if you will. I think I might go with Tyler Miller, the offensive tackle, who's like 6'7", I think.
One of the top
Right.
3 well-paid undrafted free agents.
He is 6'9", 335 pounds. Yeah, I think he was the second highest paid undrafted free agent that we signed.
Oh,
I might be wrong on that, but he's up there.
they trade.
But
Frank
I do
Gore.
think he's going to be trade Frank Crown. That'd be crazy. But I do think Tyler Miller, just having a lot of that additional like size and depth on the offensive line, I think is always going to be valuable. So I'm going to go with him.
Is Clay Powerade bottles Webb still on the team? Don't do a Google search about Clay Webb and Powerade.
Yes. I know.
Refuse to answer on the basis that I don't want to.
Of course, that's right around Cameron's alley. I like actually that pick, not just because Brandon said it, but I do like offensive linemen that are very, very large. Like Tyler Miller, 6'9" is no joke. Maybe it's just because the Miami Hurricanes in me, which is just big offensive linemen. I'm just kind of used to it, but I do like that. I don't like the idea of maybe trading Frank Crum if Tyler Miller makes it. I like the idea of keeping both. I think there's a way to keep both of them. But yeah, I'll go with Tyler Miller. I like that. I was gonna say Cameron Ross, the wide receiver, but I just think our wide receiver
Say
room
my
right now is too
name.
deep.
Just say Cameron. And
No.
I do hope, for what it's worth, I do hope Sean Fresh sticks around and balls out, because that's just such a sick name to me for a cornerback. Fresh.
He is a fresh name. He's a fresh new face, literally. I don't know. It's tricky. Obviously, we all think it's gonna end up being York, but I think where it does get tricky, because like when you think of like the names, at the very least it's practice squad, or at the very most I think it's practice squad, right? Like, because I think it's hard to ignore guys like I hate to say it this way, but just like guys like Dane Key and Dasan McCullough, guys that have actual ties to the Broncos roster, but also like there's the family ties of Dasan McCullough to Sean Payton. When McCullough was there, his dad was with Sean Payton like the very first year when he was a rookie, right? And so like kind of doing a solid, if you will, and bringing him on the team doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be on the 53-man roster. But I also know McCullough was also one of the top 3 like well-paid undrafted free agents. But I also know that he's like a dollar store version of Isaiah Simmons, and I have no idea what they're going to be doing with him and where they're going to be playing with him and what they're going to be identifying a certain role for him. So that's where I don't know if he'll be on the team. So, and wide receiver just in general, I don't know, because it seems like that wide receiver room for the most part is relatively set, because there's a certain guy named Lil Jordan Humphrey who's occupying the room right now.
Oh boy.
So I don't know. Like I really do think that there's. I'll just go out on a limb, and maybe it's just because of the Marvin Mims type of discussion and everything like that. But I just think that Colby Katzis, if you will, might be one. He's a relatively big wide receiver that's got some special teams ability, and if they want to make it a little bit more of an explosive special teams with the new rule that's been in place for the last couple of years, right? Maybe they don't want to obviously put RJ Harvey down there, but they actually want to make it a little bit more explosive with another guy there with Marvin Mims. I think Colby Katzis could be that kind of guy. So
Interesting.
Because I feel like it's there's, as much as it's the Husker fan in me too, but it's just like it's just hard to ignore guys like a Dane Key being related to Devon Key. You know, it just seems like practice squad right then and there. You know, because like he didn't. I am perfectly positive he did not weigh. Uh, like he did not weigh any options. He just wanted to go play with his brother. I am perfectly content and very much believing that. And I don't know if that's true, but I am very much in the belief that happened. Deshaun McCullough kind of the same thing, but just because of his dad and the history with his dad. So I don't know. Clay Sprays with Tennessee. That's the. If you're not in our Discord chat with David Talks Broncos, that's our. That is our nickname for Clay Webb.
That's crazy.
I hate it.
You don't like the Clay. You don't like the Clay Spray nickname.
No.
I guess yeah. If you're gonna, Tyler Miller's probably another one of those best bets, if you will. But
yeah, Tyler Miller might be low hanging fruit, but I think he's gonna be a good depth piece for sure. Especially with like, unfortunately, what was the Garuglio injury?
Wasn't it like ACL or something?
That was
he's
like
also on the PUP list.
Something with the knee.
Yeah, it was something with his knee though. Oh, this is ACL. Wow, that sucks. Well, that was from last year. No, there was something else.
And he injured it like the second or third preseason game.
He did, yeah, in the preseason last year. But I thought there was something else that just happened recently.
I don't know if it was that. It was just they mentioned about.
Maybe not. They just put him on the PUP anyway.
Yeah, we love a good PUP. So yeah, any other final thoughts or people that are in the YouTube chat? Maybe we'll do something a little bit different. I know we're going a little bit long, but maybe people that are in the chat, do you have questions for us about training camp or stuff that we didn't actually target or anything that we didn't touch on? Like I see Kodiak in the chat. We didn't touch on the fact that Nate Atkins is occupying this roster. So is there a for Kodak, is there a Nate Atkins question that is, in there, or is there some sort of question, from the people of like training camp related questions and stuff like that? So, if there are, feel free to fire them away. But do you guys have anything else?
This is the this is the year that we don't have any joint practices, correct?
Yeah. Actually, we
don't
do not have any joint practices. So
interesting.
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
I think first time in several years where the Broncos don't have a joint practice, right?
I feel like we always had them with San Francisco. Am I crazy?
I know like almost every year that I can remember, at least, there's been joint practices almost every year, right?
One of the most iconic joint practice moments was when the Denver Broncos really showed out against the Minnesota Vikings, and then KJ Hamler stepped to the stage and said, and now coming to the stage, Jared Jeudy.
The one that I remember is when the Cowboys came into town, and our defense just
Draymond
kicked
Jones.
Yeah,
the famous Draymond Jones.
Because they live streamed that on YouTube, and people were watching.
Oh, that's right.
It was just ass whooping from start to finish.
Yeah, it was a really famous Cowboys offensive lineman too that got whipped by Draymond.
I mean, I think at the time Nick Benito was hurt, and he was
I think Benito was there.
Was it Benito? Someone. Okay, then someone was on the field that was hurt. Oh, actually, you know who it was? No, I don't know if it was Randy Gregory. It was somebody. Someone was hurt. A defensive lineman was hurt, and I vividly remember him going onto the field and just going absolutely berserk. And he wasn't even in pads.
Randy Gregory.
I gotta find out, but yeah, it was just hilarious.
But we all know about the famous Trayvon Jones picture that's rolling around with the offense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, oh, of course, before we leave, Sean Payton will be present for the Drew Brees Hall of Fame ceremony, so he will miss 1 day of practice. Next week.
That was a cool video.
For that very cool video. Thought the players hated Sean Payton. Um, but so yeah, really cool video. And if you guys are really big on Madden rankings, the Denver Broncos are apparently the 4th best team in Madden, but yet they don't have a single player except for Pat Surtain included in the top 10. And Pat Surtain is not even ranked 99 overall after even a defensive player of the year in his belt and stuff like that. And not
That's
ranked ahead
insane.
of Christian Gonzalez.
Oh yeah, it's nuts.
No safety in the top 10. Zach Allen, not even in the top 5. Not even in the top 10. Bo Nix, not even in the top 10. And if I heard correctly, he's ranked in 81.
That's just so dumb.
That's insane.
And Caleb Williams is ranked in 90.
See what I mean?
Um,
I don't get it, man. I mean, I get it, sort of. But
by the way, a really important question was asked for Jordan relative to basketball. I gotta find it. Does Jordan play 2K?
Yes, I do. Now this upcoming year, am I gonna play 2K? I don't know because the NBA has broke me, so I don't know if I'm gonna play 2K. I probably am, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the NBA right now.
What? Why was
gee,
that?
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah, why is that? Is there a certain player trade that happened to the Philadelphia 76ers?
Yeah, the CBA is so dumb.
It would be so funny if the 76ers just weren't good this year. Like,
Weren't
I don't
Be
know.
awesome.
I could see. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I feel like they're like that super team meme where they seem like they're crazy on paper and then they're actually not as good.
Yeah. And Cody, I did guess it right. I do have. He's 7'2" though. I haven't played Park in I want to say like 4 months
Park or Rec?
or Rec.
Because I was gonna say Kodiak and I will play Rec every now and again.
Yeah, but I have uninstalled that game for a while just because the NBA has pissed me off. So
What I will tell you, Kodiak, this is on record, and he said it on the show. Not in those words, but Jordan has come out and said that he is a sweat at Madden. When
Yes.
the time is right.
yes, that I am.
So, yeah.
I will admit.
But yeah, other than that, I think that'll do it. So one thing I will say is now that training camp is in full swing, expect mainly Broncos to be a little bit more of a weekly thing. Now, we aren't going to be doing 2-week, hiatuses, if you will, or obviously it's all predicated on our personal lives and everything, but we aren't planning to do, 2-week hiatuses, 3-week hiatuses now because we actually have Broncos stuff to talk about. We have Broncos stuff to talk about them in shorts and underwear on the football field and practice and news and, and I hope they're not playing in their underwear, by the way. But we are finally going to be getting Broncos news, and the boys of fall are back. And we at Mainly Broncos are going to be getting you guys covered. MHRT Network is going to be getting you covered. And if you guys did not get a chance to hear, but MHRT Network is paring down. And we are paring down, and we are only going to, starting next week, we're going to be ending our hiatus with some a little bit more in focus on 5280 and Broncos Buzz and mainly Broncos. And, of course, when the season starts, it'll be the neighborhood. So it's going to be an exciting time for the network. And of course, mainly Broncos and all during the season. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you follow the boys, Brandon Miller, PO, Jordan T. Lopez, myself, and Cameron Parker, PO. And thank you to everybody that chimed in the chat. Kodiak Broncos, another good content creator in the Broncos community. Make sure you check him out. He does great stuff over there on the Talk of Tick, which is TikTok. He also posts great stuff on X, specifically in the training camp era, because he will post stuff from his iPhone 4 that you actually have to decipher, like a Where's Waldo type of picture. So make sure you tune into that. Obviously, Darian was in here. Make sure you tune into what Darian's been doing over there on TikTok, as well as some of the short form stuff that he's been doing. I want to thank Joshua for hopping in. I know he's a Patriots fan, but thanks for hopping in. I see you, Chase, as well. So thank you so much for hopping in. I saw some other people, Gares, I saw on here. Obviously, Josh Sherman, the proud owner of our short form for Mainly Broncos, was on here as well. Ty Walden, of course, just a bunch of guys who deserve credit for everything here tonight. Obviously, Nick Beckwith, Visor Payton was on here. Thank you guys, for hopping in. And so we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast. And of course, God bless Bo Nix.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the